Hi everyone, welcome to the hosting with IPFS with Fleek session as part of the Encode Filecoin Club education series. This session today is going to be recorded and put on the YouTube, and if you have any questions throughout, be sure to put them into the chat, and hopefully Samuel can help answer those as well. But yeah, for the meantime, enjoy, and I'll hand over to you, Samuel. In terms of the question, Samuel, do you want to kind of stop at certain points throughout, or just take them all at the end? What would you prefer?
I think I will take them all at the end of the presentation.
Okay, awesome. Let's go for it.
Awesome. Well, hello everybody. My name is Samuel. I'm from Fleek, and I'm here to talk to you about our hosting platform. So you know IPFS already, I'm assuming. So it's an awesome technology that is super cool for distributing files. But you might be wondering, like, what are the practical applications that I can use today with IPFS? And one of them is hosting on Fleek. And in this presentation, I will show you how you can do that with Fleek and some other tools that are very useful that we provide to deploy your application on the internet. So in two parts. The biggest part of this presentation is I'm going to talk to you about hosting on Fleek. I will show you all the steps that you need to deploy your application on IPFS. By the end of this presentation, you will be able to do the same thing yourself. And also, I will talk about Fleek Storage, because if you're going to host a site on Fleek, you need somewhere to put your web assets. And we have this smaller product that works in tandem with Fleek hosting, and I will also briefly mention NFTs because it's also useful for that. And I put a little message here. By the end of this presentation, you will be able to ditch some centralized services like AWS. So maybe you're already like hosting your site on AWS or some other centralized service like Netlify, for example. But at the end, you'll be able to replace it with a solution that is decentralized and is also convenient the same way as these other services. So first of all, hosting on IPFS, it's a bit harder than it seems. So maybe you learn about IPFS and you follow the tutorial, and a lot of these tutorials is like you have an index.html5, which is a website, and you put it on IPFS. And now by the end of the tutorial, you now have your site on IPFS, and you think, well, hosting a website on IPFS is therefore very easy. But in practice, in the real world, there's more that you have to think about. For example, here are files on IPFS. So you might have learned about this, but for a file to be available on IPFS, somebody needs to pin it at all times. So that's something that you have to figure out. Also, quality of life. So if it's just like in index.html5, it's easy. But in real application, you're working with a team, you're thinking about continuous integration, CI/CD, your code is going to be hosted somewhere, so you need to have a flow that is like very easy and smooth. Also, you need to think about CDNs. You probably want to share it on Web 2, for example. So that encompasses like DNS domains and also Web 3 options like ENS domains. So that's a lot of things that you need to think about. And if you want to do a serious application, then it's gonna be like really complicated. Hence why Fleek enters in the picture. So what is Fleek hosting? So it's a hosting service very similar to Netlify for static websites that allows you to host your site on IPFS, which means your HTML, your JavaScript files, CSS, all that stuff is going to be on IPFS. But we have a lot of these quality of life improvement that makes this whole process a lot easier. For example, you can connect directly to your GitHub account from where we fetch your code. We also give some assistance for deploying your site and building it by automatically detecting certain frameworks. Also, continuous development is something I will show you. Deployment, it's something I will show you afterwards. But like if you just push a commit to GitHub, it will automatically create a new deployment. So it's like very easy in your day-to-day life as a developer to have your site on on IPFS and have the tools that you know and love. Also, we have a built-in CDN because you have your site on IPFS, but of course you want to share it with people, and that includes sharing it in the Web 2 world, not only in the Web 3 world. And Fleek orchestrates all that, so it's easy for you. Also, fun fact, Fleek is hosted on Fleek. So here you got a picture of the Fleek application. This whole application is hosted on Fleek. And it's an application that has like thousands and thousands of people every day. People are signing up every day. It's a commercial grade application, and it works on Fleek. So I give you an example of what kind of application you can build on Fleek. Same thing like our webpage, Fleek.co is hosted on Fleek. Our blog is hosted on Fleek. The documentation is hosted on Fleek. So whatever kind of application that you have, you can take inspiration from what we already have created and know that it's doable. So first of all, just a question before we continue, like why in the first place we want to host on IPFS? Why not just use AWS or Netlify? Why bother with this Web3 technology? But it's the only way to make your dApps truly decentralized. So if you're a dApp developer, for example, maybe you develop on Ethereum, well, your app is decentralized because you are interacting with Ethereum through a MetaMask, for example. But your site itself, the way it's distributed, is not decentralized. So your decentralized application is not really decentralized. So hosting an IPFS can provide this extra layer of commitment to the Web3 vision. Also, about pinning, I said previously that it's something that you need to think about. This is something that will take care of you on Fleek. So a lot of the difficulty that you might have with IPFS, we take care of that. Also, we have a backup. We back up your sites on Filecoin. And this feature is a little bit needs to be developed. You can interact a lot with it, but it's good to know that all your stuff is backed up on Filecoin. And also, hosting on IPFS is framework agnostic if it is a static site. So just if we understand what is IPFS, IPFS is a file distribution system. So whatever framework that you use, IPFS does not really care which framework it is. So you can use Fleek and IPFS with all kinds of framework. For example, our blog is using Gatsby. Our Fleek homepage uses WordPress. The Fleek application is a React application. But there's a lot of stuff that you can build on Fleek. You don't really have to worry about the framework. All of them, you can make them work to deploy them. Also, decentralized naming. So if you have a dApp, your site is an IPFS, but maybe the way you access it, the site is not decentralized. And therefore, you need to, in order to be fully decentralized, you need to also decentralize the naming of the site. And for that, we have some integration for two different protocols. The first one is ENS, the Ethereum name system. And basically what it is, it's a DNS system, but it's on Ethereum. So all it is a bunch of information. So for example, you can connect your ENS name with the IPFS CID or the IPNS address. And that allows you to have your site on ENS. With Fleek, we have a flow so that it's easy to do that. You just add your site, follow the flow, and we take care of triggering the correct transaction. Also, we are using IPNS. So you might have learned about that in a previous presentation. But basically, thanks to IPNS, you can have your site always updated, and it only costs 1 Ethereum transaction. And basically, it's a system in which someone needs to sign what is the most recent CID, And at Fleek, we take care of doing that. So all you need to do is connect your ENS site with your Fleek site, and then you don't have to worry about it afterwards. Also, the second protocol that we allow you to use is Handshake. So Handshake, basically, it's a decentralized root zone, and it's secured by a Bitcoin-like blockchain. So it's an alternative way to use decentralized naming. And if you want to use any of them, here are the links: app.ens domains to buy your ENS domain, or for HNS, you can get yourself a domain on namebase.io, and it costs some HNS, which is the cryptocurrency that is native to Handshake. Also, a bunch of tools. So at Fleek, we developed a bunch of tools that you can use depending on your need. For example, we have a Fleek CLI. So what that allows you to do is to deploy your site and make updates to your site directly from your command line. So it's a CLI tool. We also have a Fleek API that allows you to interact with Fleek. So basically, you can interact with the same GraphQL schema that we're using to build the front end. So that's pretty cool. So if you have some interesting idea, you might be able to build it with the Fleek API. Or the third option is GitHub Actions. So one thing that is interesting is that with Fleek, we have our own CI/CD pipeline. But if you don't like it, you can, thanks to the GitHub action, create your own workflow that is arbitrarily complex as you want, or can integrate any kind of library. So you have a lot of flexibility to do what you want. And for each of those projects, on our Fleek YouTube channel, there is a video dedicated to each. So there's a video that shows you how to use the Fleek API. There's also a video that shows you how to use the GitHub action. So you can go there if you want to learn more about it. It will not be discussed further in this presentation. Oh yeah, so the resources. So our docs, it's the main way by which you can learn information about hosting. There is stuff about troubleshooting. So if you run into a problem, we have some frequently asked questions. We show you how to use ENS. Also, we show you how to use the Fleek API, the Fleek CLI. So there's a lot of stuff there. We have a blog in which we have various articles, including like when we have new features, it gets released as a blog post on the blog.fleek.co. And like I mentioned, the Fleek YouTube channel /c/Fleek HQ, we have a tutorial for how to deploy your React app, how to use Fleek API, how to use Fleek Storage, all kind of stuff. So now I do a quick demo. I'm gonna just deploy a site, show you how it works, and give you some explanations. So I'm gonna go here. Okay, so does everybody see the browser? I think so. So this is the Fleek website, and as you can see, I got here a list of sites because I use it a lot. We got here the hosting tab is the one that we use to host stuff. And when you want to deploy a site, it works. You click on add a new site, and it goes through the flow. So the first one is to connect your GitHub account. I'm going to click on that. You can select your organization. So I got something on my personal account. You can search your GitHub repository. Here I got the create a React application. It is very simple. And then I can select the hosting service. So I'm going to click on IPFS, but you can also do it on the internet computer. It's an alternative protocol that you can use for hosting your files. But let's select IPFS because we are here for that. Click on continue. And as you can see, all these settings have been automatically set. So we automatically detect a few of the frameworks, including in this case, create React app. But let's go in detail about each of these settings so you know what it does. So here, the first one, it's the repository basically and the branch. So you can use any branch you want. And here you can select the framework. Basically, what it does is that it populates the settings for you depending on the framework. It does not always work because maybe you have something special about your site, but you can customize them. But I'm going to click on Create React App. And what it auto-populates is first a Docker image. So the Docker image is the Docker image in which your site will be built. And because of this system with the Docker image, it's why you can build pretty much any site that you want, as long as your Docker image has the same dependencies as you're using in your local machine. So if you work on local machines and your Docker image has the same dependencies, it will work. But that's really cool. And at Fleek, we also have some basic Docker images that we provide to so you don't have to create your own, but you can create your own. This connects to a Docker Hub. Next, we input the build command. So if you know React, you need to do a npm install and npm run build in order to build, or you can use yarn. It does the same thing. And all your stuff, after it is built, it goes into a directory called the publish directory. In the case of React, is the build directory. So the stuff that is inside the build directory is all the stuff that will be uploaded directly to IPFS. Now let's deploy the site. Click on this. And you're going to be moved into this page. There is a deploy log that is going to show. And this log is really useful because you can look at, like, if there's a bug, for example, and your deployment fails, you can see exactly why it failed. It surfaces the error messages that you would normally see in your command line. And it is pretty quick, like it's like maybe 2 minutes, it should be built. But I already pre-built a site, so we don't have to wait. So let me go here and click on the site. So when it becomes built, it becomes blue. And you have this link that we give to you for free for every user, so you can access it with the DNS. So I click on this, and my React application is here. I can also go on verify on IPFS if I want to see it on IPFS. It's on IPFS over here through the gateway. So here is the CID. And once it is deployed, you can do a variety of things. For example, you can change the default name that we give you, but more importantly, here you can add more domains. So if you have a domain name like a .com or .co or whatever, you can add it and connect it to the site so that you can access your site through the domain name that you possess. Here you can add an ENS domain name, like I explained previously, if you want to take advantage of the Web3 portion of the app, or an handshake name. And what is cool is that you don't have to choose. You can use all three of them at the same time if you so desire. So you can have a foot on the Web2 world and a foot on the Web3 world, and cover all your bases basically. And that's it for the hosting. Let's continue to the presentation. Where is it? This here, full screen. All right. So we did a quick demo. We had a site and we published it to IPFS. Something I just realized I forgot to show you is I wanted to show you what happens if I push a new commit through GitHub. So let me just do that right now. So I'm going to do code dots. So that's the React application that we just deployed. So what I want to show you is the default CI/CD pipeline that we give to you. So here, that's the message that you could see when we click on the site. Maybe I want to make a change. For example, maybe I want to put an exclamation mark here. So I'm going to save this. And what I'm going to do is push it to GitHub. And when I do that, it's going to trigger a new deployment. So I do that. I do git commit. Maybe I can make it bigger. Like this, yes. Git commit. And type added exclamation mark. Now I'm going to push it. Cool. Now I pushed my change, my new commit. I'm going to close this. And I'm going to go back to the site, the application. So if I go, that's my site is deploying, it's connected to my GitHub repo. If I go on deploys, you should see a new deployment being triggered, but it's not triggered. That's interesting. Maybe it's the wrong repo. Yeah, I think I pushed it to the wrong repo, but it's okay. But basically what would have happened if it was the right repo, you would have a new deployment being triggered here. And after like 2 minutes, if you had clicked on here, you would have seen the exclamation point appear. So that's how we do our CI/CD. We share back. Step 1. I go on the back to the presentation, full screen. Click. All right. Next, let's talk about Fleek Storage. So what is Fleek Storage and why do I even mention it? So Fleek Storage is to store files on IPFS, but it's not like specific to hosting. It's about storing images, videos, things like that. So if you have a website, isn't it that you have a bunch of images on them? Maybe it's a logo, maybe you have a video that you're showing, maybe there's a background image. Basically, you need to host this image somewhere. Normally, when you do that, without Fleek, it would be like on AWS S3, you'd upload it there, your images and your logos, or on Google Cloud, you'd upload your logos and images there. But with Fleek, we don't want you to use AWS. We want to give you the Web3 alternative. So that's why we have Fleek Storage, in which you can store your stuff right on IPFS. Now it's easy. It's a web UI. There's also a JavaScript package. I will show you after how to use it. It's pretty easy. And there is a built-in CDN, image compression, image resizing. So basically, when you put your file on Fleek Storage, it is on IPFS, but there's also a CDN. And through that CDN, you can access it very easily. And how it would work is like you have your EMG tags in your HTML file. You just put the link as the source. So it works exactly the same as it would with AWS or Google Cloud, but you're also using IPFS, which is the cool part. So the use cases. So as I mentioned, you might want to store and distribute web assets for your website on IPFS. So all your images, your logos, etc. If you do that, if you put your images through Fleek Storage instead of, for example, your GitHub repo, it will build much faster, and there's a CDN. So there's no compromise in terms of how quickly you can access it. The second use case, and I will mention that a bit more quickly. I don't want to focus too much on this because this presentation is more about hosting, but you can store the files for your NFTs. And I'm going to talk about it in the next slide. But as I said, Fleek Storage, if you want to build an application that uploads to Fleek Storage, for example, an NFT application, you want to do it programmatically through JavaScript. And why you can use Fleek Storage JS. It allows you to view your files, to remove them, to add them, and we take care of pinning them so the files are not lost. And how it will work is that you would have a backend. This backend would save your API keys, and it would make calls to Fleek Storage. But just quickly, let's talk about NFTs, because right now it's like everyone talks about that. Where NFTs are selling for like millions of dollars. It's crazy. There's clearly a lot of very interesting business opportunities with NFTs. And what I want to stress is why you want to use Fleek Storage and IPFS in order to upload your NFTs. So first, I want to talk to you about a bad practice of creating NFTs. So the bad practice is to have your files on the URLs. So here, I have an image of the foundation.app application. As you can see, the NFTs, they have images or videos associated with them, right? So a lot of NFTs, they like pieces of art that an artist has created and he wants to sell them, for example. So the question is like, where do you put that image? Because the NFT is on the blockchain, for example, Ethereum, and right on Ethereum, you're gonna write a URL or something so that the file can be accessed. And the point I want to make is that writing a URL in the blockchain is a really bad idea. Why? Well, what happens if the server goes down? For example, my image is imgur.com/1234. Okay. What happens if imgur goes down and disappears? Well, now your NFT is worthless because there is no way to fetch the image. And that really sucks if you build a NFT project and then like 1 year or 2 years down the line, you have problems like that. It could destroy your project. So it's really bad. Also, what if the NFT is modified? So when you're using a URL like this, what is really happening is that you're talking to a server, and the server can give you back the image. But the server is centralized, so it could lie to you. It could change the image. It could replace the image. It could delete it. So there's no safety with your image. You could lose it, and that's just not good if you have an NFT project. So what is the solution? The solution is to, instead of saving a URL in the blockchain, you save a IPFS CID or hash. Why is that better? Well, because the CID is generated from the content, which means like if I have an image and I change 1 pixel of the image, it's going to generate a new CID. And so your IPFS, your NFT asset is therefore tamper-proof. And that's really important for an NFT project. If you're the owner of a particular CID, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it will always always be connected to your original picture. So you're truly the owner of that picture. There's no way to change it. So and for that, we recommend that you can use Fleek to host your site on IPFS, and use even Fleek Storage to make your job easier. We have all kinds of clients that are NFT projects that are using Fleek in order to host their NFT assets. So it's something that you can do. We offer the service, and we have a lot of experience with that. But now let's just change topic. I want to show you how to upload files. And if we have the time, and I think we do, I will show you like an NFT demo application that uses Fleek Storage. All right, let's go back to the browser here. So until now, we have played on the hosting tab, but now let's go to the storage tab to access the storage product. So what you get is a big list of files that I have uploaded because I play a lot with this. And there's also some folders. So all it is that you can create folders, you can organize your files how you want, and it's going to display like that on the user interface. Even if you use Fleek Storage, it also show up in the interface. That's something else that is cool. You always have this to rely on if you need to play with your files. But maybe I want to upload a file, so I'm going to create a folder. I'm going to call it Filecoin Club. Create, confirm. And here we have a folder called Filecoin Club. And I want to put some files inside that folder. So I click on upload here to this. And I got some picture already. So let's upload the hats. Confirm. And just like that, my file is now uploaded on IPFS. And there is even a link with a CDN to quickly access it. So I click on this. I can click with the image. I can open the file here, or I can copy this link or this copy path, which copies the CDN link. So here, that's the CDN link. That's the link that you would use as a source in your website for your image, for example. It's a Web2 link. And here it is verify on IPFS, just to show you that the site is indeed an IPFS. Here on the top, you can see we are accessing to a gateway, and here there's the IPFS CID. And this CID is, by the way, if we're creating an NFT application, the thing that you would write in the blockchain, not the entire URL. All right, now I want to show you the NFT application. So just to show you where to get it, if you go on docs.fleek.co on examples, storage, we have a link to this. It's a crypto museum-demo.onfleek.co. I'm going to copy this link and open in another browser because I have a MetaMask on another browser. So here, copy. All right, so now I go to the site, the demo, it opens MetaMask. All right, this. By the way, the site is hosted on Fleek. So it's hosted on Fleek and using Fleek storage. So what it is basically I got an account and I got a bunch of images that I've uploaded to the crypto museum. And all these images I have uploaded them to the Ropsten testnet. So, but let's upload an image. So I go choose an image. I go in pictures, wallpapers. I'm going to upload the hat. Click on the hat and do create NFT. And in the background is going to call the Fleek Storage JS function, and it's going to generate a transaction. So here the suggested gas fee, I'm going to make it a bit bigger just so it's faster. 100 maybe. It's the first time I use the MetaMask since the AAP 1559, so that's interesting. I should look into it. I can save. I just wanted to go fast. So confirm. And now it's gonna mint a new token, and this token will have the token ID. So it might take like 30 seconds or a minute before the blockchain accepts the transaction, but when it will accept the transaction, it will show up in this list of images. But ulteriorly, it appeared. So token ID 118 is the hat that I just uploaded. And if I go to here, that is the address of my crypto. So if I go here to the contract, I can read the contract, and I can fetch the CID. So I just want to show you that this is indeed uploaded to Fleek Storage. So here I got token ID 118. That query, it retrieves an IPFS hash or CID. So here I can do a pfs.fleek.co/IPFS and copy this. And as you can see from the gateway, indeed we get the file. So as you can see, the file was indeed uploaded to IPFS. And you can put like any CID over here, but I don't recommend you because this app, like anybody could use it, so you don't know like what people have uploaded. So it's at your own risks if you decide to look at the other CIDs. Let's go back to the presentation. All right, so some resources. So the docs, we have a storage section. I encourage you to go see it. There's some explanation on how to generate API keys, how to use Fleek Storage, for example. Here's a link to the Fleek Storage JS package. And also on the YouTube channel, there's a bunch of videos on how to use Fleek Storage JS or AWS S3 endpoint, like all kinds of interesting stuff. So I encourage you to go there. All these links I've prepared there on the text files. Maybe after the presentation, I will post them in the chat so people can access it. But to recap, so IPFS is an awesome technology, but how to use it in practice? Well, in practice, you use it with Fleek to host your site on IPFS. So after this presentation, I want you to go to app.fleek.co, sign up, and like try it out, host your site. You might find it really cool, and even like replace your AWS S3 centralized system or whatever you're using to host your site on IPFS. And I don't care which framework you're using, you can make it work, and we can also help you if you have a difficulty with that. Second thing that you can use Fleek for is now that you have your website hosted on IPFS, you need a place to host your web assets, your logos, your images, your videos. You can do that with Fleek Storage. And also the little parentheses that I opened during the presentation is, if you're developing an NFT application, you should really consider using Fleek Storage JS, because the correct way to do it is to have an IPFS CID on the blockchain, not a URL, and Fleek Storage JS can help you do that, as you have seen with the demo. And that's it for the presentation. I'm going to stop the share and look at the questions. So I see the chat, there's a bunch of messages. Do a quick look. So can we view the websites on other browsers than Brave? Yes, you can. I see also someone answered the question already. So thank you for answering that question. What is the difference between Fleek and Web3.storage? So I'm assuming Web3.storage is a pinning service. So what Fleek Storage does is that it allows you to upload your site and to IPFS. So we give you an IPFS CID and you get a CDN. So I'm not sure exactly all the features given by Web3.storage, but if you use Fleek, you have these two things alongside the JavaScript and the UI. Integration of payment platform, the dot. I'm not sure if that's a question. Okay, so I want to answer the question about Web3.storage. So it seems that Web3.storage makes Filecoin deals in the background, giving you some long-time decentralized storage. Okay. If I go down again, do Fleek do internships for students? As far as I'm aware, we don't have internship for students. Maybe it's something we can think about. Can use Author TLD, Author 10 ENS, maybe like .crypto.nft. So right now, the only one you can use is .ens. But in the future, we need to do an upgrade so that you can use any ENS TLDs. So it's something that is coming, but it's not there yet. Could you explain the difference between Fleek and Arweave? So I need to read more about Arweave, honestly. But what I know about Arweave, it's basically a file distribution protocol, and I believe that Arweave does not use IPFS, as far as I know. So the difference I would say between Arweave and Fleek is that with Fleek, we are using IPFS. So if you want your files on IPFS, you can use Fleek. Now, as with your IPFS is better than Arweave, I would need to know more about Arweave to answer that question. But like IPFS is like, it seems like, to me at least, from my interaction with the Web3 community, it's like the #1 file storage protocol, the most used. So it seems that like in the protocol war is like winning. So something to think about that is interesting. But you know, Arweave might be something. Arweave might be something interesting to read more about. I need to do that myself.
Awesome. I think there's a couple more questions just a bit further up. I can read them out if you'd like. So one from Gamafi, who said, "Can normal e-commerce sites be launched using Fleek?"
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Could normal e-commerce sites be launched using Fleek?
Yes, you could. It would depend on how you build it. So, for example, you can build any kind of application. So, like if I explain to you quickly the Fleek architecture, the app.fleek.co architecture, it's a site that is deployed on Fleek. But then you might wonder, like, wait, how does that work? Because Fleek is IPFS is only a file distribution system. So, like, what happens to the backend? Well, you can use, depending on your application, you might be forced to have also a backend. So the front end can be deployed on Fleek, and then your backend that maybe has all your e-commerce features, that's going to be like separate from Fleek. All your backend logic is going to be over there. So if you want to make an e-commerce site, that's a way that you would do it. The front end you would host it on Fleek, and the backend, you do it with whatever you want.
Awesome. And they followed up that question asking if it would be possible to sort of integrate payment platforms and things like that.
Well, yes, of course you could. For example, just on top of my head, you know, like payment platform, it works like any of them. Basically, they work with APIs. So if you have a backend, you can just use the API of the platform that you want. I'll give you an example. On Fleek, app.fleek.co, we allow payments to Stripe, which is really popular. So if you want to make an e-commerce platform, you can also use Stripe. Also, another API that I got experience with that we almost integrated on Fleek, but we didn't, is Coinbase Commerce. You got a cool system that allows you to pay with crypto. So you could use that to have your payments, basically. So like with Fleek, it's really like basically what it does is it hosts your front end. So what you put on your front end could be like anything. And that's why we use it Fleek for like the docs and the front end and all kinds of applications.
Fantastic. And then I think the final question, unless any more come in whilst you're answering this one, is do you have Lambda functions like Netlify, for example?
We don't have that yet. It's something that we're thinking about in the pipeline. For example, recently we did the integration with Internet Computer, so that could open the way in the future so that we could have Lambda functions on Fleek. The problem with Lambdas is that, like, what is IPFS? IPFS is only like a network that has a bunch of files, and these files can be distributed. So there's no like logic on IPFS, and a Lambda is executing code, it's executing logic. So you can't really execute a Lambda on IPFS. That's why if we want to have this feature, we'll be looking at some other protocol like Internet Computer in order to provide that functionality.
Fantastic. Well, I think that's pretty much all of the questions there. So thank you very much, Samuel, for a fantastic presentation and for handling all of those questions. Just to wrap up the event, obviously this has been recorded. It'll be put on YouTube tomorrow and hopefully uploaded with slides as well, so that everyone can kind of go back over this in case they wanted to review anything. In terms of the upcoming events in the series, we have, sorry about that, I was muted. There we go. Next week, we have the pinning services with Pinata event taking place, so you can come along to that and learn all about that. And following week, we'll be building with Filecoin. So I've popped the link to both of those in the chat there, so you can go and sign up for those. And I'll just pop the link for the Encode Club Discord as well, as there'll be more information in there as well. Oh, thank you very much for the links there, Samuel. I'll just copy those as well. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything for today. Thank you very much again, Samuel, for the fantastic presentation, and hope to see you all on next week's session.